Hello, and welcome to the Perfect Franchise Podcast.
I'm Kris, and joining me is my wonderful co-host, Andrea.
In this podcast, we're on a mission to help you discover all that franchising has to offer.
We'll explore expert strategies, interview successful franchise owners, and give you the tools to make informed decisions.
So whether you're considering your options or you're ready to take that plunge, we're here to support you every step of the way.
So let's jump into today's episode.
Hi, and welcome to another TPF podcast. Today we have Michael Hartel, founder and CEO of Cabinet IQ. Michael, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I'm a big fan of the Perfect Franchise, so it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. We're a big fan of yours. We're happy to bring you on, and I know we have some clients that have made it through to you guys, and I think you're a great company. So, Michael, start us out with kind of the origin story. How did Cabinet IQ come to be?
Yeah, great question. So this is about 9 years ago. At the time, I was actually a PhD scientist at one of the top semiconductor companies in the nation. Grad school for me was amazing. I got to do a lot of creative research and publish papers and do a lot of creativity work. And all of that ended when I got a real job and I went out into the 9-to-5 workplace and had 2 computer monitors and a boss that told me what to do for 9 hours a day. And that's just not the way I'm wired. It's not what fulfills me. So I found an out through real estate. So I started essentially flipping houses here in the Austin market, fixing houses, selling them for a profit, and really just fell in love with that process, taking something that needs a lot of love and redesigning it and turning it into a masterpiece. So that was really fun for me. I actually was able to replace my income by doing that and decided to leave the company. And essentially, at the end of every project, I was having a lot of issues with the product that we do now, which is cabinets. So at the end of every project, you're cruising right along, on time, on budget, and all of a sudden the cabinet company screws you, right? And I just had this happen. It wasn't one time; it was over and over and over with multiple companies. And as someone that's really process driven, I was just really having a hard time understanding how they were making these mistakes. So I set out to do it on my own. I basically solved the problem for myself, for my construction company. And then the word spread, friends that were contractors found out and I started helping them, then friends of friends, then neighbors. And in 2016, 2017, I had people that I never met before calling me, asking me to help them. So that was really the origin. And, we became really well known in the Austin market and we decided to franchise. So here we are.
Michael, do you have a sense, in remodeling, construction, there's 1,000 different things you have to worry about. Why were cabinets more of a problem than anything else? Do you have an idea?
Yeah, that's a great question. Unlike materials like flooring or tile, where you just pick it out and install it, it's very simple. Cabinets is a little bit more complex, which means you need a little bit more attention to detail, a little bit better process, a little bit better understanding of the client's expectations and your deliverables and communicating that well. And, it needs to be treated like its own little separate project. It's not just another material that you install in a home. There's a lot around, cabinets. You can spend $10,000 on a kitchen. You can spend $150,000 on a kitchen, as far as cabinets and countertops. And I feel like clients, when they first are doing this, they really don't have any clue. They don't know if they should be spending $10,000 or $100,000. And it obviously depends on a lot of factors for them. And I think most cabinet companies just say, here's a cabinet. Do you want to buy it? And we really take an educational approach to understanding, how they use their kitchen, how long are they going to be there? Is it more of an investment? Are they looking to spend the rest of their life in the home? There's a lot that needs to go on ahead of time. And I think a lot of cabinet companies don't do that the right way. So that's why we've taken that approach to really educating clients from the beginning all the way through the end of the process.
So Michael, that's kind of where you're seeing some of the difference. You're taking them through more of an education process to get there. But what else is different from the competition? Are you doing anything that's completely different other than saying our processes are better and we're more customer focused?
Yeah, well, one of the big things about our company is we actually had to build out our own customer relationship management software or CRM. So, I just talked about keeping the client up to date and a lot of those touch points. And honestly, I spent about 6 months with my COO interviewing every single customer relationship management platform out there right now, the big ones, the small ones, everything in between. And we weren't really happy with what we get out of the box. Some CRMs are good at, the marketing and sales piece. Some are, but are also very weak on operations. Some are really good on operations, but weak on, everything else. So we actually had to go out and build our own platform that's specific to our industry and even more specific to our company. Really, the name of the game is delivering the information to the client when they need it. If you front load them with everything, it just becomes overwhelming. So we've developed a system and a software to guide not only our clients, but also our employees through the process from start to finish. So, I'd like to say that we're a technology company that just happens to be in the cabinet industry. We've definitely set the standard for the customer experience.
So that's kind of one end. So you talked about you've built this system that's more of the customer facing interaction sales process to make sure you're keeping people up to speed, adding that professional level to it. But then I think when you mentioned the technology piece, what I've heard is sort of the 3D renderings too. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that's a little bit different? Is competition doing that?
Yeah, it's a great question. Most of the competition, when they're designing a kitchen for someone, they give them black and white line drawings with a bunch of scribbles with crazy nomenclature that only the cabinet person knows, the client doesn't. And they do a really bad job of helping the client visualize what the project's going to look like. So we use a really nice design software that allows the customer to see exactly what they're going to get before they decide to make a large purchase. It's a very cool software. The still shots are very high quality, the renderings, but you can also almost sit in the middle of your kitchen and spin around in 3D and virtual reality to understand what your space is going to look like before making that final decision. So that's really special. I would say most companies don't do a good job of that.
You mean like goggles, like virtual reality goggles they're sitting in?
We do have that capacity. We do that sometimes. Quite frankly, most people aren't used to it and they start to get a little bit nauseous. I'll be honest with you. So if you've never put that headset on, we kind of strongly recommend that you take it slowly, right, to see if it makes you uncomfortable or not. The last thing we want to do is have someone pass out during a design presentation. So it's just not, the technology is there. I think the human capacity to understand what they're looking at is not quite there yet, if that makes sense. But it's very cool. You can almost stand on top of your kitchen island and spin yourself around in 3D to see what your kitchen's going to look like. It's a very cool technology.
That's great.
So, Michael, we've talked a little bit about how Cabinet IQ is different from a consumer standpoint, right? And they're going to have this visualizer software. They're going to be much more educated and have their hand held through the process, unlike most of your competition. But let's look at it from the perspective of a potential franchisee, from a business owner. Can you walk us through how this business works and how Cabinet IQ, the franchisor, supports the franchisee every step of the way, from how's the lead generated to how's the deal closed? We talked about the visual software. We haven't talked about the retail part of it, the brick and mortar part of it, which is a little bit different. So walk us all through that, so somebody who's contemplating a Cabinet IQ, they get an idea of what the model really looks like.
Yeah, I want to first start by saying that we're kind of in a league of our own. And what I mean by that is, we're not necessarily a home service business. We call ourselves home fashion. So our industry is a little bit different than your typical get a lead, go to someone's house, try to make a quick sale. It's very transactional. We're in more of a relationship business. People with this large purchase have to really know, like, and trust you. So I want to just start by saying that we're in a pretty unique industry in itself. As far as the business model, it's actually very light. I know there's a brick and mortar component, but with an average ticket of $25,000, you're not chasing around 15 leads a day and trying to close sales for small tickets. If you just do the math, if you're doing one sale per week, you instantly have a $1.2 million business, right? That's just the way the math works. So with that being said, we have a really nice way of qualifying our customers ahead of time before we start to do a lot of the heavy lifting. So we actually built a proprietary tool that we can educate the clients when we first meet them and give them essentially a price point for, we call them principal, signature, and masterpiece types of cabinets. It's essentially good, better, and best. But very quickly, someone can say, I don't want to spend that much. This lower level works, or, oh, we actually have more in the budget. Let's go with the best cabinets because we plan on spending the rest of our life in this home. It's a really nice touch to qualify someone initially. We do a design retainer, which is 5% of the budget we set for the client. And if you think about it, that's actually when the sale happens. You just need to have a product that they like you, they like the process, they see hundreds of 5-star reviews on the internet. Our showrooms are inspiring. They're not just full of product like, I don't know, Burlington Coat Factory, where you walk in and you just feel overwhelmed. That's honestly how most cabinet companies are set up. They sell product and not experience. So essentially, they would pay a design deposit, and then we do their design, come up with a final price, and then they pay. So as far as lead generation, sales and marketing is really my happy place. If you ask me to sit down and write an SOP, you'd have to hold a gun to my head. That's why we have a COO that's a Lean Six Sigma black belt. But I love sales and marketing, and we have some really creative ways to generate leads as soon as the business starts. So we have a lot of franchisors have an inbound call center where they're taking phone calls for you. We actually have an outbound call center that's a lead generator. And right now they're setting between 5 to 10 appointments a week with construction professionals and homeowners who pulled permits to remodel their house. We're actually calling them up and setting appointments. So that's pretty special about us. It's been very successful. Dollar for dollar, it's probably the highest ROI, or it's called ROAS, return on ad spend, for us. So we're able to generate leads. We've spent a ton of money on search engine optimization. So as soon as a new web page launches, we're in the top 3. Before the business is even open, we're able to show up very high on Google and start generating high quality organic leads. There's a lot more to it. We have an omnipresent approach of lead generation, but those are the top 2 that are driving business even before the showroom's open. And I just want to mention, I know it's brick and mortar, but we've been able to be successful. Our franchisees have made sales before their showrooms open. So we actually have those as 2 separate tracks. We have the track to understand the business, make a sale, and become profitable. And then we have a separate track of real estate, showroom build out, and grand opening. Those are 2 separate tracks that are done at the same time in parallel.
Nice.
That's great. A lot of support, that you're giving them, helping them with the lead generation. But Michael, let's take a step back. Tell us sort of who you're looking for. Who's that ideal candidate for Cabinet IQ?
Yeah, great question. We like people that are buttoned up and have a sales background, right? Our showrooms are high end, and we want someone to feel comfortable putting on a nice pair of slacks, a dress shirt, and just standing out from all the other cabinet companies. We're not a type of company where we wear T-shirts and polos. That's home services. We're not home services. We're in home fashion. So someone that has the sales background or a strong operations background is what we're looking for. I can sum this up with our core values. I talk about these with all of our candidates on our founders call, and I want to tell you what they are. And if these align with your candidates or any candidate, this is a good fit. So essentially, core value number 1 is create a positive impact. I believe we're always making someone feel a certain way in every interaction, and we want that to be a positive one. We really want to truly help people. We do a lot of community service work in Austin. We give back to our community a ton. And I want our franchisees to feel that same passion for helping people. So create a positive impact is number 1. Be a lifetime student is number 2. Just coming from a PhD background, I love learning, figuring out how things work. Continuous improvement runs super deep in our company. And we like franchisees that really want to dig in and learn this industry. We can't force them, but I want someone to really feel the internal drive to learn. So that's number 2 is be a lifetime student. Number 3 is mind the details. So someone that's detail oriented, that follows a process, that likes keeping the showroom clean, that likes dressing well, and helping clients. So that's, I can riff on our details for a long time, but just for the sake of this conversation, number 4 and 5 are more self-explanatory. Do what's right now it's easy, and take accountability for your actions and inactions. So just one more time, create a positive impact, be a lifetime student, mind the details, do what's right now it's easy, and take accountability for your actions and inactions. And when I get on founders calls and talk about these, some candidates resonate with them immediately and come right through our system. They talk to franchisees who are validating very well. They come to Austin and meet our team, and that same message is consistent, and they just come through organically and start to become successful. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys. Those core values are very important to our company.
Excellent. So to that point, I have 2 questions. Number 1, noticeably missing from your description of who you're looking for or your core values is, I need to have a background in construction, or I need to be good with a hammer, or I need to have some pre-existing knowledge of cabinets. Is that true? I don't need to know anything. You're going to teach me all of it?
Yeah, that's right. We have our system set up so that none of that knowledge is necessary. Not a single one of our 30 franchisees came from construction, came from cabinets, and just I can't talk about validation maybe on this call, but people are becoming successful without being in the industry. So we have it set up in a way. And let me share this with you. They're not actually going to be designing and installing cabinets. They're never going to touch a cabinet. They're never going to design a kitchen except for in training. I want them to design one kitchen so they understand how to do it. We're going to teach them and give them all the tools they need to go out and hire a kitchen design professional, someone with 7 to 20 years of kitchen design experience, who's ready to work for a more professional company in a nicer showroom with better processes. All of our franchisees have found incredible staff members because of who we are and what we stand for. So that's
that was actually my second question. That was it. Who's doing the designing? Because it's one thing not to know about construction. It's another thing to have no confidence in your ability to design. So
yeah,
excellent.
we have methods to attract and to recruit and hire some of the best designers in the nation, and that's what we're going after. We want someone that wants to become a business owner and really the conductor of the band, and follow our process, hire the professionals that we recommend, and listen to our staff and run their business, be a true business owner and not caught in the weeds of the day-to-day. And our business is set up for that.
Got it.
So, Michael, you talked about you're hiring somebody who's the design person, but they're also kind of your salesperson, right? So they're the ones interacting with customers. So why does the franchisee need sales? Where does their sales needed? Is it B2B sales? Is it bringing in sort of referral business? Where do you need the franchisee to be besides sort of the forward facing, like around the actual location? But what else are they doing?
Yeah, it's a great question. A lot of our business does come from business to business, which means you naturally need to sell. You need to promote your company. You need to be energized and not drained by walking into a room of professionals that you don't know and shaking some hands and understanding your place in the marketplace and build those relationships. So that's number 1 is on the business to business development. Number 2 is, although the franchisees are not going to be selling kitchens, they're not going to be designing and selling kitchens, we do want them to be the best in their company at when someone walks in the door to go through our process of who we are. We have a very standard way of showroom tours. We have we call it our design deliverables binder. We basically, when a client comes in, they have no clue what's going on. They don't know what the process is, what they need to be doing. And we built essentially a beautiful sales process that you flip through. It's about 40 pages. It takes about 15 minutes. It's a pretty quick presentation. And it talks about who we are, the process, and what the next steps are. And we would like the franchisee to really master that and to help their designers collect these design retainers. So they're actually going to be selling design retainers and letting their design professional actually do the measurements, the design, and the sales.
Okay, so they're kind of that first layer into the process.
They can be, if they're obviously not there, their salesperson is going to be trained on the same thing, but there's nothing like a client meeting the business owner. Hi, my name is Michael. I'm the owner. can I guide you through our process? I'd love to tell you a little bit more about what it's like to work with us. I have this presentation that walks us through it. It's very visual. It's very uplifting and energizing for a client to go through. It's not your typical sales pitch.
Yep.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
helps.
Michael, before we run out of time, and I'm going to hand this over to let Andrea take us to the rapid fire questions, but wanted to sneak this in. Before the podcast started, we were talking, and I really think it'd be great for the audience to hear what you had to say. Just catch us up on, you haven't been franchising that long. So how long have you been franchising? How many franchisees? And, you know, in the time you have been franchising, what kind of response, what kind of success are the franchisees having? What kind of validation would our clients hear if they were to go through your process and talk to your franchisees? Catch us up there.
Yeah, sure. So we started franchising in 2023, but at the time we weren't working with the franchise sales organization. We didn't really have anyone helping us guide, our clients and our candidates through the process. It was basically myself, our COO. And that's not what we're best at. We're best at building a system that works, not necessarily guiding someone to making essentially a major life choice. So for a whole year, I learned what franchise development looked like, and I knew we weren't good at it, essentially. So we partnered with Franchise Fastlane, who has just been phenomenal on being the cultural gatekeeper for us and really guiding clients through answering all their questions, allowing them to come to confirmation day and meet the team. It's been really great to work with them so that they can focus on what they do best and we focus on what we do best. It's been a beautiful relationship. At this time, we have 30 franchisees, and we're essentially bringing on 3 franchisees per month is kind of our growth rate. And we're already ahead of the hiring curve. We have 2 franchise business coaches, and I want to remain ahead of that hiring curve. I don't want to be one of those brands. I'm sure we all know stories of brands that just implode because of growth. I've seen those mistakes happen, and it's my promise to not allow that to happen. So, but also, I've actually been the last 4 months, I've spent a lot of my time has been spent on our monthly check-in calls with our existing franchisees in market. And if someone has a chance to complain about the system, that's their chance with the CEO on that call. And I can tell you that the vibe is really good. Franchisees are validating very well. And, with following the process, they're able to open up in their markets and do well. So for me as a founder, it's been really validating to see it work, not just in Austin, but in 14 states at this point. And I've really set the foundation for what franchise support looks like. Our seasoned franchise business consultants, or FBCs can guide them now. So it's been a really great year last year.
Awesome.
That's great. I love to hear when the new emerging brands really have that support from the beginning, and I think that's really important. So, Michael, we're going to do a little shift. Kris and I always like to sort of end the podcast by asking you questions of advice. And this is advice for anybody going through this process, not somebody looking at Cabinet IQ. It doesn't have to do with Cabinet IQ, just sort of broadly. And so give us one thing you would tell somebody who's contemplating becoming a franchisee of any brand.
Ooh, that's a good question. I would give the advice to really put yourself in what the day-to-day looks like, right? I think a lot of candidates can maybe get wrapped up in just the numbers or a sexy new franchise concept. They like the idea, right, of owning a cookie company or a gym or a cabinet company, or any concept. They kind of get excited about numbers or, how is it going to make them feel to be a part of it. But I think when it comes down to it, they really need to think about what their day-to-day is going to look like and what a path to being a successful business owner looks like, right? Starting a business, whether it's franchising or not, it requires some resiliency, some grit, and it takes a little bit to get off the ground. But after that, I'd like for them to think about what their ideal life looks like and what their business that they started, how that plays a role in it. So just understanding, making sure they have enough free time starting out, if that's what the business requires. And then afterwards, we'll call it, 2, 3, 4 years into the system, really thinking about what their ideal life looks like and how the business fits into that.
That's great. That's a really, really great advice. And so one more question. What's one thing you would tell a new franchisee in their first year in business?
Oh, you're going to get a lot of no's from people, and you just need to hold your head up and keep going. It's going into a brand new industry, not a brand new industry, but I guess it is a brand new industry for them. But going into a brand new industry and trying to connect with other professionals to do business with them. Some of these relationships are already rock solid, that they already have a cabinet company, for example. But when our franchisees are persistent, it just turns into a number game, and then they end up collecting some really beautiful relationships, and then it just snowballs from there. So, not being afraid to fail, failure, having someone tell you no, I'm not interested, is not a big deal. But getting those reps in is, because the more you do it, the more confident you become. And confidence is something that always comes across. You can't hide, being shy. Confidence really comes across powerfully. So the more times, the faster they can fail, the quicker that they can run a successful business. And failure doesn't mean your business is failing. It's just literally someone told you no. It's not a big deal. You got to just keep going, if that makes sense.
Yep.
No, I think that's great advice. I think people think, oh, okay, you need to come out of the gate and be successful right away. No, a lot of those little failures, those no's are learning points to how do you get better. And that's really, you can't expect to be up and running year one. So I think that's great sort of advice for anybody going into this, is that it's sort of that longer term, you're getting better every time. So I like that. Thanks so much, Michael. Appreciate you coming on today. I think, it's great hearing about a company where you're new, you're emerging, but you're really putting in the effort it is to build these franchisees out. But I also think some of the advantages that you're coming in a space that typically there's people, there's the Home Depots of the world, there's small cabinet companies, but you're kind of doing it different. You're really focusing on the customer experience from the minute they walk in, but also the technology piece, so people can really see themselves in that project before it actually happens. And so I really appreciate you coming in and sharing everything with us. It's been great. So if you're thinking about franchising, remember that while there's no one size fits all, the perfect franchise for you is definitely out there. To explore your options, please visit theperfectfranchise.com by clicking on Let's Talk. You can schedule time to talk with one of the consultants on the Perfect Franchise team. We look forward to connecting with you again on the next episode. Until then, take care.